really going to explode here.
Is expecting Bitcoin will go much higher than 100,000.
So yeah, XRP $7 is potentially realistic if some scenarios happen. These scenarios need to happen that these billionaires are talking about. Again, you know, there is a lot of bullish potential for XRP that really made it explode. And it's exactly as predicted. I've been calling this for 2-3 months, but unfortunately my channel was not big enough for people to hear me. And that's why I'm asking you for a like button. Because if you drop that like, this I can literally show to people on what's happening. I can show them what we are seeing live. I don't want people to not know what they're buying. I want them to know where and why they are getting it. So that's my passion. That's my goal. And if that's something that interests you, I'm only asking for a like. It's free.
25,000 on the trend line. Well, it certainly will probably get there. It'll probably get to 250. But
again, 250,000 Bitcoin, XRP, you know, $7 is certain, especially if we see that BlackRock partnership I was talking about.
We'll probably not spend more than 90 days. At least if you look at the previous 3 cycles, that's what's happened. You have not spent a ton of time. Could it be 6 months? Could it be 2 months, possibly?
Again, you know, you got to think about the compound. So we literally needed 1 month for XRP to reach from $2 to $3.4. So if I am talking fast, it is because I am very excited about this. We needed 1 month for XRP to double in price. So maybe it's going to take next rally, it might take 2 weeks. Next time, it might take 1 day for it to go from 3.8 to $5. You don't know, because we have never seen the crypto government, basically the government, enter crypto at this point.
Could there be a double top? The history of this thing is that we don't spend a lot of time in these super bubble periods. This isn't paper Bitcoin. This is a bunch of people who are selling out Bitcoin that they've been holding for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, right? There are these spikes. People do sell. So it's OG sellers of Bitcoin. That's just a fact. This is what people do when you have life-changing wealth.
Again, you know, like all these billionaires are buying XRP for a very good reason. They're not buying it to lose money. They're buying it to make money, and they're paying people $2 million, $1 million a year just to give them the right advice. So why are they buying Bitcoin and Ethereum right now? They're stacking it up like butter.
It just means that we're going to be at even with fiat. So I think the lesson here is that at this point, we are going to be in the millions of dollars per Bitcoin.
So yeah, you know, people calling millions of dollars. I thought it was crazy in 2017, but the multiplier is very, very significant, especially for something like XRP, because it's a smaller market cap than Bitcoin. It means it has more potential. Could take years, you know, for XRP to reach $10, but years when a crypto goes up 300%, 400% is not that insane. The stock market might never go, you know, triple, maybe in 30 years. So it literally beats out the stock market.
So if you're going to plan on sticking around this planet until 2043, we're probably going to be in a heavy Bitcoin world.
So 2043, if you guys are still live, again, Ripple isn't going anywhere. That's why I plan this. You know, when I look at this channel, I plan a 5-year plan. I plan a 10-year plan. This channel is still going to be here after 2 years, hopefully. So, you know, I'm thinking that just the first year is just like building a house, right? So first year, your XRP is probably just building a layer of foundations. The second year, you know, it's probably like adding some bricks. And even on the 6th, 7th year, you actually can add the roof. And this is what we're seeing with crypto right now. It's like an investment in your time.
By 2043. And we're going to be at millions of dollars of Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that we're all going to be using Bitcoin for everything. It just means that Bitcoin it'll be the dominant asset at that point. Velocity is very low because all the money has been moved from the banking system to basically the Fed, right? So it's all this QE that's happening that's sucking up all the liquidity, and the banks are very cautious, and so they're not lending it out super fast. It does kind of seem like we're going to become very Japanese. I think that seems to be what's going to happen here. There's so much money out there. It's just,
Again, there's too much money out there. That's why billionaires are trying to get rid of it. They're trying to buy stuff. Why are billionaires buying real estates in billions of dollars? They're buying private islands, they're buying jets, they're buying potentially everything, and some of that is crypto. Why? The Louis Vuitton founder has 750 million dollars. Basically, the markets are changing very quickly, and we went from a big recession in 2022 to basically, oh, I have too much money, I have to get rid of it. And they basically, I have to get rid of it so I can have rent, I can leave some for my kids, I can have dollars, I can basically, I don't want dollars anymore, I want to have a big fancy boat because I just got a nice bonus. So it's really changing in that sense that we went from a big recession, we went to people wanting to own
so much that the minute they stop this money tightening, which is what the Federal Reserve's been doing for the last 3 years, if you reverse that trend from the last 3 years of money QT, I think we're going to absolutely have the biggest risk on summer around. And I think this will coincide with a big, beautiful fall and maybe a Bitcoin winter early next year. But
so yeah, he's basically saying a potential price crash for XRP early next year. That would be very brutal, but he has a positive outlook on the long term. So you got to think about crypto 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. This is where the big wins are.
I am leaning to the idea that we could have a massive rally followed by a massive crash.
Yeah, so I definitely think so, because what do people do when they see XRP $6? Obviously, they will sell it, right? $6 will be 2 million, 3 million for some people. So yeah, it does seem like a massive crash. XRP to $2 isn't too crazy when you think about it. When we saw previous cryptos crash that much,
it's kind of my base case. I'm not trying to FUD anybody. I'm not trying to sell my Bitcoin or anything, but there's actually quite a bit of cash in the system. I did not know this. There's almost $1 trillion of cash. Now, why is there so much cash?
And if we saw like XRP burns, again, this would pump, XRP to $100. It would be theoretically possible, especially with the government, coming in and helping.
Well, there's a lot of people who actually don't trust banks. They want a bearer asset. They want to be able to take their money out at all times. And they keep cash. I used to keep some cash, tens of thousands of dollars in cash, just to have it. And I don't do it anymore, but I used to. So a lot of people, they don't mind if their money is being depreciated over time. They would like to have the access to their money. They value that access a lot.
A lot of older people, they don't want to buy XRP, but a newer generation is coming in that will basically buy it.
And so there's almost $1 trillion in physical cash in the U.S. system. So that's the first observation. Now, the second observation is that you really need to look at a broader metric, which is M3. And M3 includes both of the M0 and M1, but it also includes institutional money markets. That is, places where institutions park their money, as well as Fed repos, repurchase agreements, which are basically as good as cash, right? So basically you're giving money to the Fed, and they're saying, hey, you can, this is a 1-day repurchase agreement. You can trade that. So that's effectively cash, right? And we're going to earn money on it. And so the Fed stopped publishing this metric, but the elements of this metric can be more or less reconstituted. And
so it's crazy that they can actually check that as well. Like, did they just stop posting about it?
So you have a number for the US. So that number is $36 trillion, right? So that's kind of our money supply right now. We have $36 trillion of base, what he calls base money. That's just in the US. That doesn't include the yuan, the yen, or the euro. So that gives you a sense of, when you're measuring Bitcoin, which is sort of a true $2 trillion asset, just in the US alone, there's $36 trillion of actual cash.
That's crazy. $36 trillion. Nowadays, everyone wants to use, basic cards and stuff like that. It's actually crazy to me. XRP doesn't have a burn yet. I think it is happening in theory. But the thing is, it seems like the cash could have a burn. It could have a massive $1 trillion burn. That would be insane. That would be nice. $34 trillion of cash. And that's why people are starting to use cards more.
Right. That does not include debt. It does not include stocks. Does not include real estate. That's just actual money that's floating around. Okay. That's the second observation. I thought that was really good to get a sense of kind of the size of this. Now, what does the Federal Reserve print? Well, none of this really, because they basically determine the interest rate, but the printing is actually done by the banks, right? So the banks are doing.
Yeah, I would take that, a market volatile XRP that goes up and down on the weekends, goes 20% up, 20% down. I would take that any day over dollars basically losing me money.
All the green printing here. But
just by holding, cash in the bank, you can lose $5,000, $10,000 so easily.
The banks need to be induced to do the printing by the Fed.
Kruger has been bullish in 2025 and believes that people in the crypto world don't understand that there's $20 trillion of actual movable money. He says
So yeah, that's what I've been telling you guys, and that's what I've been telling people. $20 trillion of potential money can come into the markets.
Relentless math of this asset coming in is going to be mind-boggling. And once you give 100 million Americans with brokerage accounts access to buy Bitcoin, that's really when the game starts. He stands firm that Bitcoin is going to be the primary beneficiary of the next price explosion, which ETFs will play a major part.
Again, we saw that with stock market. Stock market was pumping before, but this time it's like XRP and crypto going back at it again.
What happened in 2008? Well, in 2008, we had the banks were running about $100 billion in reserve here. And then all of a sudden, that number went all the way up to 7 trillion, right? And with the QT, the Fed doing these buybacks, buying back debt and buying back repurchase agreements, this number is now 6 trillion, right?
So that's what I like about XRP. You can just, hold any amount you want, and you're never going to get printed more. Imagine if you could just, buy XRP and you would finally find out it can be printed or it can be made more. With XRP, that's not possible. Actually, there's some smaller burns, and in theory, there could be more burns. They could burn the entire treasury of Ripple. If 75% of people that hold XRP would vote to burn Ripple's entire supply, they could do it, which is like 150 billion, or I think it's, something like that. I think it's like 50 million XRP, so it could be like, 150 million.
This number is not organic at all, right? So we've gone from here to now. The state has come in and said we're gonna maintain this just massive quantitative easing, and which, by the way, since for the last 3 years we've been in tightening. We have not been printing from this side of the balance sheet, right? So we've been in tightening, but overall we've been in this massive QE now for almost 18 years, right? Almost 18 years. So that's the third observation. Now,
again, the markets have been pretty brutal. If you look at Japan, and we see the Korean markets entering basically XRP and everything like that.
If you look at Japan,
like Korean markets are seriously entering XRP.
Right? They did QE way before us, right? And let's zoom in on this chart here. They started the QE back in the 90s, and you can't quite see it here, but they've been pushing it much more aggressively than us. And it's a little bit more organic than in the US. The US has just sort of fell, but here it's sort of dropped. But the most important thing here is that this number at this point in dollar terms was 4.5 trillion. So actually, 5 years ago, the Japanese banks had $5 trillion in deposits. Okay, even more than the U.S., which I was just like, wow, hard to believe, but it's true. And I think what Matthew's point is, I guess, is that we're getting a little. Japan shows us where we're going, and
so that's why US is going so hard on crypto. That's why US is so bullish on crypto. They don't want to repeat the past mistakes. They want to diversify their own assets and basically make money in other ways than just the US government. Trump realizes that, and it improves it massively.
He makes sort of the point that we can kick the can down the road a lot further than we think. And Japan is really living proof of that. Their debt to GDP is over 200%. They've got, even though their money supply is a third of the US, 5 years ago, their bank reserves exceeded the US, right? So, we can become more Japanese, and we probably will become more Japanese.
So yeah, when the government becomes more conservative, like XRP is still great investment. Again, not financial advice. Fundamentals have not changed. News is bullish, rumors are bullish. There's every single day there's coming more news for XRP, which is good. It convinces people to talk about it, and it convinces people to come back to my show, the LAN, coin show, and talk about what's going on with XRP. And that's what people really like. They like to turn on the news and they like to watch, bad or good, anything you want. And that's where XRP really wins. When you go to Bitcoin, there's no development. There's no partnerships, and there is a diehard community for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is still good, but I'm talking like a lot of these projects die out because there is no news at all.
Over the next 10 to 15 years. And I think,
by the time it hits $10, it's already going to be too late, because people will check it out and see, oh, it's $10. I'm going to go to another coin. So what we're seeing right now is people moving into the lines of basically trying to move it to $10. They're trying to join the community on the road to $10, because that's why the big institutions buy. They believe it will hit $10. Welcome everyone as well, and smash that like button. Thank you so much.
This is a reminder that we're probably not going to experience something just completely catastrophic in the next couple of years. This is going to take a decade or more to play out. Now, here's the fifth observation, okay? This is a great metric that Matthew builds up. This is a metric where he looks at the ratio of the green to the bank reserves, right? And again, what we see is this kind of so this number is sort of how much potential leverage there is in the system.
Kruger shares his bold predictions for Bitcoin in the months ahead. Now that he's laser focused on Bitcoin, Kruger not only lays out the revolutionary Bitcoin power law model.
Exactly. Billionaires are calling that it's going to pump. And billionaires are calling that XRP is bull market cycle is starting, and why the government, literally says we don't want dollars anymore. We don't want to repeat the same mistake as Japan. Definitely screams very bullish for me. Like, this is the next big thing for, US. They're going big on crypto. That's why Trump is tweeting about it every single day. We're just one tweet away from XRP going to $5 if Trump tweets about it. That would be awesome, though.
He says we're about to see massive capital pouring into the crypto space. With major pension funds and institutional investors on board for the coming cycle, crypto is on track to be a $10 trillion digital asset class. This cycle will separate itself from its predecessors as devalued fiat.
Exactly. Like, most people will not buy a little of Bitcoin. If you could hold 50 of something that's small, or if you could hold like one Bitcoin, which like 0.001 Bitcoin, which one would you buy? And that's exactly the thing. They would rather buy $30 of XRP and say, hey, I have 10 XRP. It literally makes sense from a mental standpoint than saying, hey, I have 0.001% of XRP. So it just screams very, very bullish for me, because a lot of retail investors do not understand the market cap and they will decide to buy this. So this is very, very, very good news for anyone new to crypto. Seems like we are going to see a massive one. So we also have Michael Saylor as well. This is going to go to a whole new level in 2025. Look at this. Let's watch Michael Saylor because he is a billionaire
I think
on
2020
Bitcoin, and I feel like he likes other cryptocurrencies as well. XRP will skyrocket to $100 straight up. I mean, $100 is going to be hard, but $5 is something that people have been saying will never happen, and it did happen.
astronomically.